Hello, everyone. It's myself, Silky here. My boy Sim.
Big up,
Yeah, right.
brother.
All good, bro. Right now we're in my studio. He's in his studio as well. Big up the Harrow man them. You got West London in the building. Hammersmith man them. Just gonna take you through a couple of my tracks off my latest album called Panorama on Deep MEDi Music. And yeah, just hope you enjoy.
All right, Silky, brother. So obviously love the album completely, and we've like chosen a few tracks to go through. So yeah, I think what's the first track that you'd like to go through and show the people how you sort of built it and what things you look for in it, because it is a pretty good track, man. I love it.
Thank you, brother. So this track that we're gonna look at now is called Did You Know? It was the last track that I submitted on the album, um, and it's actually one that I really like because I, I had like 8 tracks, and then I was like, oh, I was working on this track as I was submitting it, and I was thinking, oh man, maybe they won't like it. I was like, nah, let me just try and get it in there.
Yeah,
So
man. There's like that whole thing you've been telling me before about you like to have odd numbers and stuff. So yeah, worked out nicely, didn't
don't bring that up.
it?
Yeah, I messed up. But yeah, no, I do like that. I had 8 tracks, and I thought, oh, maybe you could have 9. They have the odd numbers.
Sick.
All right.
Nice, man. So like, what sort of, I guess, yeah, with this track, how did you start? What was the thing you found? Because you said like before you've mentioned like you try and find a sound, whether it's a bass line or drum or something. So I guess if this one, was there anything in particular that you found that was like, yeah, that was sparked that creativity and the track just sort of came to be?
Yeah, so it was this sound here. So did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? So
Nice, man.
I got that sound from a plugin called Arcade, and that's actually what the track's called, like on my computer.
Oh yeah,
So
Arcade 16.
you can see it in the top.
Yeah,
Um, if I unmute this and then I can show you the actual plugin. Yeah. So this is the plugin that I used. And you can see like,
oh nice.
let me unmute it.
You're so good, you're so good.
At various points in the tune. I don't know if I use that
That's
bit. Yeah, so
that's quite cool.
I just basically kind of meshed a lot of those together into like a little pattern that I liked, and then tried to find some chords to go with it. So
Nice, man.
yes, I'll show that the chords with that sound. So let's get the chords going. Did you know? Did you know? Did you
Nice.
know? Did you know? So I usually try
So,
and I usually start off with like getting chords to go with some sort of melody that I've got.
right,
Um,
do you sort of just like you'll play like your inspirational sound, and then will you like just get your keyboard out and just sort of play along to it till you find something that sort of has that nice vibe that you were looking for?
yeah, that bit of the process can take quite long actually because
Yeah,
you,
I
you're
can
trying to find the
imagine.
perfect the perfect chords in it, and
Yeah,
um, and then usually like if I haven't got a beat by that time, which with this track I had a beat, so I actually started with the beat, but
okay,
I wouldn't say the beat was like the major inspiration of the track. It was just kind of like the foundation, and then once I got
sure.
that in place, and I the vocal sound in, and then the chords, and then I was like, okay, this is like the beginning of a track. So I'll play like just the drums and and the vocal. Actually, that's got the bass in it as well. Get the
Got
bass out.
Gotta leave that for later. That's nice. A lot of there's like seems to be a lot going on in the drums, but it all sort of works really well together, which is cool.
Yeah, because if you
That's
look at the drums, there's like a lot of it that's been like muted out. So if you see a lot of my MIDI clips will have a lot more in it at the start, and then I'll kind of
Sure.
kind of delete little bits. So if I add like this bit in now, this is how it sounded before I kind of like. You know, it's just a bit more busier, but I just kind of simplified it a bit.
Yeah, and we were talking about this the other day. Like, obviously, like when you're sort of creating some ideas or putting stuff in, it's always good to have more than too little, and then you can take things out. And I think that's like a good example of that, like how you do that, which is really good.
No, definitely.
I guess like you're getting everything to sort of merge together and work and sort of chord response and that. So yeah, really nice.
Yeah, and then we can go through the bass. So
okay, the all important bass.
yes, definitely. So let me just mute or solo the bass. Sorry. So there's quite a different. Like if you can see on the screen, there's quite a few different bass lines, different bass sounds as well.
Yeah,
and some automation as well. So let's get the vocal unmuted. But you see that
nice.
there's actually two, like, so on that bit there, on the first bit, there's two.
Yeah.
Call and response.
Nice.
And for those sounds, I actually used the grid. You know about the grid?
Yeah, the almighty grid.
Yeah. So this is the grid in Bitwig, and it's pretty sick. You can do so much stuff in it. This is actually quite simple, like this patch here, but you can actually go crazy on it.
Yeah,
So,
no, it is. You can see loads of that, can't you? Like you've shown me loads of different. It's some of them like that one there compared to other ones you've made is like small.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, some people might look at it and think, "Oh, that's mad complicated," but it's actually quite simple. So I've got like a high layer here, and then a bass layer.
Nice. That's cool, man. So it's sort of like, in a way, like it looks sort of similar to how Ableton works when you sort of group things together, and you can like use different sounds in parallel. So that's cool. Like you've got different layers, and I think when I listen to your tunes, like it's like layer city. There's just layers happening everywhere. It's like
and sometimes
it's interesting to see.
Sometimes you might hear the sound as like one sound, but it's two layers. You know, like even with that sound there. So then, like, the section of the track that I really like actually is I think it's this section here. No, it's here. Did you know? Did you know? Did you know? Did you know?
Yeah.
Did you know? Did you know?
Yeah, that's a nice bit.
So when I was like, I done this bit kind of later on into the track, so I didn't do it right at the start. And it's kind of like I wanted a different section, kind of go into a B section kind of thing.
Yeah.
So,
nice.
So I had this sound here. And I take off all the processing, so you can just hear the sound how it was. So it was just like this.
Nice. Is that using like a different synth sound from the grid?
Yeah, so this is actually coming from this plugin, Synthtronica. this plugin here.
Oh, nice.
It's a rompler, so it, you know, it uses like samples of
Okay.
of like it uses samples of like old school synths.
Nice.
But so I originally had it like that. So if you hear it in the song, but you can hear it's like too overpowering. So
Yeah.
so you know the vocal is actually meant to be at the front in that point in the song. So
Right.
I had to kind of find a way to get it more in the background. So I straight away I drew for the grid because when I want to do something strange, I'm like, okay, let's get the grid involved. So now you can see what I done in the grid. So let's see the difference between with the grid on and with the grid off. So you got the grid off,
Nice.
and then grid on.
Wow, yeah, a lot of modulation going on.
Yeah, and it thinned out the sound as well, so it sits better in the mix because like even without all the other like delays and reverbs, this is the main thing that changes where it is in the mix. So and then when I put it back on,
Nice.
so this makes it so that it sits in a
Yeah.
you
It's
can
almost
hear
like
all the notes.
Yeah, it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle in a way, like all the parts, like, so by you doing that, it sort of gave space for the vocal to come through more, rather than sort of having this as it was and then turning the vocal up when they could have been like clashed or whatever. Yeah.
Having to make them fight with each other, you know, for dominance in the mix.
Yeah. Nice, man.
And put all this. And then you got the second drop, kind of, you know, inverted commas.
Nice.
On this bit here. Oh wait, what's that? That's not right. Let's see here.
A nice old rumbler there.
Yeah, definitely old. No, it's not that sound. Where is it? Oh, it's here. Take that off.
Nice, complete switch up.
So in this bit, a few elements change. So you got the vocal changes. So
Did you know? Did you know?
Sick.
Did you
Yes,
know?
you went in on the. Would you have done that in arcade or in Bitwig where you changed those?
So what I've done is I bounced it out also so that I have more control because you know in arcade there's only certain things you can do. But when I bounced it out, I was able to. That's why they all split up. So this one you can see that I pitched it up 12 semitones, so it's an octave higher.
Okay.
So when it goes,
Did you know?
and then it goes.
Did you know?
Nice.
That one goes up as well, and I think that one goes up there. So it goes.
Did you know? You're so good. Did you know?
Nice, man.
Did you know? Did you know?
And this is the bit where it switches at the end again. It's another switch, another switcheroo.
You do love a switcheroo.
Yeah, so then we have this bit here. So
Nice, man.
yeah, so you got the trumpets taking you in. I think there's a trumpet and a viola. The viola's just there to kind of like pad out the sound. It's not the main sound, but you can just hear.
Yeah. And these are the Swam plugins that you were talking about to me. Like you said they were quite good.
Yeah, so it's this sound here.
Wow, sick. That's really good,
So-
man. A lot of articulation on it.
Yeah, so it sounds really realistic. You know, it sounds like a real
Yeah.
saxophone.
So what's
Or what is
happening
it actually? It's a trumpet or something. I don't know, trombone.
so on this plugin? You've got that growl knob moving.
Oh wait, should I bring it back up?
Yeah, like how did you do that?
Oh, so that's so what I've done here is move this. So I've linked this little plugin here to the MIDI CC of the growl. So you can see that when that moves, this one moves
Right.
as well.
Right, I've got you the modulation on there.
Yeah, and you know, without the growl, it doesn't sound as aggressive.
Nice. So I think like when you were showing me like Bitwig, I guess like a year ago, pretty much, you were saying like you could modulate loads of things, and I think is that like an example of how you could sort of modulate any plugin, any parameter?
Yeah, exactly.
Using nice.
Yeah, because so what I've done is I've got this other plugin and I've got this little macro here, which is controlling these two at the same time.
Right.
So it's controlling two parameters, and then I'm using
at the
that.
same time.
Yeah, and I'm going to the automation of this. That's controlling that bit here. So just with this bit of automation, you've got two things moving.
Right. And did you like when you were controlling this? Because I see like there's a lot of nodes on there. So did you like link that knob to a MIDI controller and sort of do it manually, or did you draw it in? Or...
No, I've done it manually. Yeah. There's
sick.
certain
So
things that I'll,
sort of. Sorry,
you'll get that natural sound. No, I'm saying there's certain things that I will draw in if it's quite easy to draw in, or it doesn't have to sound natural. But when you want something to sound natural, it's better to actually do it with your hand.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's a good example of that.
Yeah, and with like a trombone sound, you would obviously want that to sound as natural as possible. Well, anyway, I would.
Nice. Another section.
But it's even though it sounds quite different, it's actually based. It's based on the same chords. It's just the bass line, the bass note changes of the bass line.
Right.
So
I guess like a good question for you now, because I think this is one thing that your music has like above a lot of people's when I listen is that the arrangement is very. There's a lot like your tunes never sound like copy and paste sort of. Like you get like a typical intro, drop, next bit, breakdown. Like your tunes are always sort of progressing somewhere. So just wondering, like, can you give some insight into how you sort of figure your arrangements out, or is it simply just when you're making it from start to end, you're just vibing and you're building and whatever feels right? Like, what do you reckon on that?
Yeah, so there is a bit of, I don't really. A lot of it's trial and error, to be honest. I always want it to kind of move and evolve. So that's just a natural thing for me. It's actually probably harder for me to make a track that's like not evolving at all. That would just be really hard. You know what I mean? That'd be more difficult for me. So I think it's more of just like my kind of what I like to listen to and what I like to make is that things that are like changing and different vibes are happening, different mood, So it's just kind of a natural progression of just what I like to hear.
Nice. So, that's cool, man. Yeah, I think the arrangements in your tunes, especially on Panorama albums, like they're really, the progressive never feels like anything's repeating. It's always something nice and new happening, which is sick.
So like with this bass note here, so you'll see when this starts off, the bass note is E.
Yeah.
Here, so. But if you look at the bass notes of how it starts out, it actually starts out in a C sharp.
Okay.
But then it also goes to an E on the second one. But I basically carry that E. I just carry on using that on this second bit here. So it sounds a bit more gully.
Yeah. Nice, man.
one of the last things I added as well. Little vibe.
Oh yeah.
But then also I use the effects grid here as well, because if I take off the effects grid and I take out the EQ, it sounds totally different.
Right.
Now,
So what's the effects grid actually? Yeah, what's the effects grid doing there?
So it's doing ring modulation. So I'm automating ring modulation. So
Wow.
if I take it off.
Wow.
But because the ring mod is basically, so I'm ring modulating it with a square wave that is a semitone below it. Sorry, not a semitone, an octave below. So it kind of makes it like sound like it's, because the original one sounds like high pitch, so it's like, but because I've ring modded it, then it makes it sound like it's an octave lower.
Nice, mate.
And the reason why it's kind of like shaking a bit more is because I've detuned the thing that's actually ring modding it. So
right.
It's
Okay.
where I've detuned it. So. And then with this, I've done like a massive like, I've basically done a bandpass here.
Yeah.
Just so it can fit nicely in the mix. So if I take off, so if I play it with without the bandpass, then it's just like it's just piercing, But then with the bandpass in,
yeah, it's just all sitting below the surface.
Yeah. And it allows.
It's interesting. I think. Yeah, no, it's interesting because I see like what you're doing is rather than sort of going into the volume and turning things down or up, you're sort of getting them to really just fit where they belong by using EQ or things like the effects grid. So I think it's like it's a good example of how you sort of deal with like textures of sounds and where they sit. And I think it's good insight for people because I think even me, like I'll just if I'm like this doesn't stand out enough, I'll turn it up before I think about maybe trying to get it to fit a bit more. So that's pretty cool. Good to see that.
Because sometimes you'll turn it down, but then now you can't like hear the main elements of the sound. So it might just mean that you need to turn down the high. You need to like do a low pass filter on it. Do you know what I mean? Rather than actually just turning the whole thing down.
I guess that is a question for you. Like, what's your favorite thing about this track? I know, like you said, it's one of your favorites that you've done in recent times.
That's difficult. I like the blend of it can it's danceable, but you can show it to your mum. Your mum.
I like that.
Not all mums will love it, but you can show it to your mum more than my other tracks.
Mum music.
Definitely.
Nice. Really, really love the track, man.
So should we move on?
Well, I guess I got one more question for you. So, like, when you sort of made everything and you've got it all to fit, like, do you do any like overall finishing touches on like buses or anything like that, just to get things to gel? Guess like, how would you approach that?
So on this one, I've actually got I've got nothing on the bass, so I've just grouped the bass just so that it's all on one volume, so I can turn it up and down.
Yeah.
But on the drums, I actually have a saturation on the drums, but it's on the drums and bass together. So if I solo it now and just you listen to it. So you got one layer here that's just dry, and then this layer here has got saturation on it, and I've just blended the two together. So if I can solo just so you can hear that saturation and so.
Nice.
So it's quite heavy saturation, but it's quite low in the background.
Yeah, because it's an interesting approach because I think like you know, when people they'll go online and watch tutorials and things, like sometimes it feels very like prescriptive, right? You have your drum bus and you have your bass bus and da 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 da. But I think this exemplifies how, you know, like the end result of getting it to sound nice and how you want it is all that really matters. And I think, you know, like you having the bass and drums together and saturating both together definitely gives like those two elements of real, like, I guess a bit of grit and a bit of body. And it sounds like,
and it kind of marries them together, you know. And that's what
it's a good word. Yeah, some marination. Saturation, man. Saturation, marination, innit?
Saturation for the nation.
That's it, brother. Amazing, man.
Yeah, man. So, you know, I was really happy with this track when I finished it. I was happy that it ended up on the album, and just glad I could get it out there.
Yeah, and I think it's a good. I remember when you first showed it to me, like you say, it was like during lockdown. I think, yeah, it's one of my favourites on there, definitely. Has a really nice energy in it. Amazing. So did you want to take us through another track?
Yes, so we'll go and get big.
What's next on the list?
We'll get Big 45 out. We'll get the Big 45 out, yeah?
The Big 45, yeah?
And these are all my random names. All right, let's find it.
I like the one there called Simmeroo. I bet that's a cool one.
Oh, that's a secret. Don't let them know about that one. Yeah.
A lot of versions as well.
Yeah, I have to remember what things are called as well. F with me.
Yeah. Guess that sort of links up nicely to Big 4-5. Is that what you're saying? When you like, you got.
Yeah, F with me and you'll get the Big 4-5.
Yeah,
that's literally what I'm saying.
Amazing, bruv.
All right, let's get into it.
Yeah, I'd say like this was definitely on the album up there for me. It's got that little dutty bass line.
You know, I remember when I was around yours before we couldn't meet up, and I was playing it to you, and it's funny because I kept on saying to you, I thought you were getting the bass line wrong, but you were just kind of like delaying the last note. But in my mind, it was so wrong. I was like, he keeps on going do 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 do. I was like, what's this? What is happening?
What's he doing? You did. You're scared, weren't you? I was definitely doing it with the Indian one, innit? Ding, 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 ding.
I was like, what's he doing? But you know, it's funny because in your remix of Big 45, it kind of like it went like that a bit as well. And
that's what I did, just to annoy you.
No, but it sounded great. So, but I think you were kind of remixing it in your mind anyway.
Yeah. Good tune, man. Very, very catchy one.
You always had the remix in there. It was always coming. Man.
Sick. So that was, I guess, yeah. Let's do the same sort of run through. So what was the first thing you started with in this one, if you can remember?
You know, so I remember having this for quite a long time, just as a little loop of just the bass, the chords, and the drums. I can't remember what order I made them, but it was just like bass, chords, drums, just all in one. And I remember just like trying to do that bass. Like, I just done the bass line on the keyboard, play the keys. Let's play the bass line so I know what I'm talking about. So you might, if you got a laptop, this is not it's not gonna help. You need some subs. But anyway. So basically, this is all I had. And put the drums in there, so it was like.
Nice.
Let me add the chords in as well, so then. Yeah, if I unmute that, so I can hear the chords. So. So I remember that one of the first things that was like exciting was this little beat loop. So
oh yeah,
So I found this, and I basically cut it up. You can see how I cut it up here, and I kind of rolled it off a little bit. But the main thing that
it's
I
like
done
the layer, it's like the layer on the clap, isn't it, as well? On your snare.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's how I was kind of using it, just like, as a little thing to kind of, I don't know, kind of make it a bit more aggressive, like a big slap, like the big 4/5, isn't it? It has to have some slap to it.
Perfect.
So the main thing that I done to this sound was actually put this distortion on it, because before that it doesn't sound like what it sounds like now. So if I take it off, you'll hear it. It's quite tame, you know. Like when you hit, so if you hear that in the tune,
yeah,
it's not bad, but it's just not what it is. And now,
yeah, you're doing some modulation on that as well, aren't you? On that symmetry knob. On the distortion. It looks like
I can't remember. Am I? Let me see. Oh yeah, I am. Let me see. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, what on earth is all of that? Man's like, I didn't do anything. Oh, yeah, it looks like you're designing like something for a starship there. Like, what is that?
This is the Parsec 8 or something like that. Oh, it's one of the modulators on the Bitwig. It's pretty sick. Yeah, is it Parsec 8? But it's like Parse Sequencer 8. And so it's just like a little sequencer. So let me see. Yeah, so you can see the steps that it's actually. Yeah, you can see where I've actually modulated on what steps. So that would be step 6, which would be this one, 4, and 2. But I can't remember what I done. That was in the weeds.
So
I was just messing around.
Yeah, just one like a deviated question, like a different sort of diverting, not deviated. Sorry. So I guess like because you're using Bitwig on this, and I know like you use a lot of different DAWs, and you love to utilize the essence of each one, but just like to give like a quick, very, very short background on like why you like Bitwig so much, because you managed to get me convert. I was a hardcore Ableton user. I think there's not a lot of people that use Bitwig, so I think it would be interesting to understand why you use it and what things make it really good for you.
Well, I actually got onto Bitwig on version 1, like literally the first version. I bought it around I can't remember how long ago it was. It's a long time ago. I bought it a long time ago. I was just interested because it was talking about networking. They still haven't introduced that yet, but they had like networking where you can work online with other people. That would be sick at these times with the pandemic. And just the modulating system where you could just modulate any VSTs you got or their own plugins. So that's what really drew me to it. So I bought into it early when it was cheap as well. It was cheap at that time because obviously it was just starting out.
Yeah.
And I had the license there, so I tried out a bit, but there were so many things that were missing because this is version 1. So I wasn't expecting it to be like amazing straight away, but I just thought I invest and then see what happens. And and they brought out version 1.5. That was okay, and it was version 2 where they brought the modulation system in, where basically on any plugin. So let me show you. Or I could just show you on this one here. So this is a part of the modulation system. So this plugin here, it can work for any other plugin. So this is the Pro EQ2, which is a third-party plugin. You can just add any of their modulators. So ADSR, LFO, all these different ones here. You can add to it, and then you can modulate. So if I add this, I can now modulate any of these parameters. And that just opens up, because if you've got a plugin that's got, it's only got like 4 LFOs in it, but you want an extra LFO to modulate one more thing, there's not many options to do that. Or there is, but it's just very convoluted, and it will just, it's just not as simple as just being able to do that.
Yeah, no, of course.
So once they brought this system in, this was when I was like, okay, let me get more into it now, because
Game changer.
yeah, because I now I can think of things to do with it, and I can actually do things. You know what I mean? Because it has to get to a point where it's easy enough that you're
Yeah.
not just sitting there thinking it's long. You know, because it's all good to have something in a program where it's new and exciting, but if it's long to do, you're just never going to do
Yeah.
it.
So it's just literally with a few clicks you can modulate anything. And I guess like with version 3 they brought out the grid, which I've seen you using quite a lot as well.
Yeah. So let's get on to this sound here, Gladiator, and you can see like a little version of what I'm using on here as well. So Gladiator is old school. You know, everyone knows about Gladiator.
Nice.
And you can see that I'm slowly here changing different elements of it.
Really nice, man. Yeah, I mean, that sounds wicked. I think it's another thing that you're really good at is like you'll get the most out of a sound or a synth. And I think like all these little ways like you modulate things and change them and progressively do it, it's like you're getting as much as you can out of one sound rather than adding another sound in. I think it's interesting to see.
Well, what I would usually do is I'll have like like the standard version of the sound that I'm trying to get to, and then I'll find ways of trying to get to there. Do you know what I mean? So like on one, on this section here, I think this is the main like version of it. So, but I had to build up to that, So I used like just, and just slowly builds and builds.
Yes.
And then it finally gets to this bit here, and that's when I bring in different elements. So you can see like,
maybe
it's a bit smaller. So you can see that when I go on.
Yeah. But I was going to say like those chords. It's like I don't know how you do it, but when you listen to like the drop of this tune, it sounds proper dark, like, you know what I mean. But then when you bring these chords in, you're still using the same bass line, but it completely changes the whole tune. Like it teleports in a different place. I think like
so I can kind of show like so let's take that bass line here. So I've got the yellow ones are the bass line, and these ones are the chords here. So I'm anyway, if you know a bit about music theory, you can see like that like these are all based on this chord here, but I actually done the bass line first. So I've done the bass line first, and I have an idea of like of what can go with it, but I don't know exactly what chords I'm going to do yet. So I do the bass line first, and then if you do the bass line first, I find that if you're looking to do like something gully and have like some sweet chords on top, it's probably easier to do the bass line first, because then you can make sure the bass line's gully, and then you can just fit chords around it. So and so like when I had this bass line a bit here, when there's like a little bit that kind of that stops, then I could just put another chord there, and that doesn't have to be that much related to it. So if I just have it like, let me get the bass line in.
Yeah, that's sick, man.
Oh yeah, and I've got that extra bass line in here as well, isn't it? The I call it the womp. So you got the womp.
Nice. A lot of layers.
Yeah, even inside here, I kind of use the grid to split it up. So where is it? So I've got like two different bits of it. So because there's a bit of the tune where the you see it hasn't got the top bit on it. It's just got the sub, and this bit's got
Right, I
the.
see.
And because I exported it out of I bounced it out of a VST. It was kind of like a workaround so that I was able to have like a sub version of it and to also have um, a version of it with EQ. And
Right, I
not
see.
even, well, just I wanted to have a sub version without reverb, and then I wanted the top bit to have reverb. So this is the only way I could do it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just like problem solving, you know, and
Yeah.
it gives you a lots of different ways to problem solve.
Yeah, no, I think like since I switched to it, like it's life changing Bitwig. It's really nice.
And so this little cowbell sound that comes in at the end, I actually had this at the start. This bit. So when I was making the chords and stuff, I was like doing loads of different melodies, and I was like, I'd have it all in a loop, do loads of different melodies, and then there's 5 places for them in the track. So
Right.
sometimes I won't know where a melody's gonna go when I'm doing it. Sometimes I do because I'll do it at the end of a track, but a lot of the times, it just have loads of elements all in at once, and then I'll find homes for each one of them. Some of them don't find homes.
Nice.
Like
So you see on the left hand side, you've got like all the little. I guess these are all the loops, aren't they? The little clip launcher.
Yeah.
So like, because I think when you showed this to me, it was like quite similar to what Ableton had already, where you could just create the loops first, and then sort of take those and make that into a tune. So I guess like you're saying that you create loads of loops like this, and then you have them all in here, and then you make your tune, and then you go back into it and go, oh, actually, there's this little thing that I made earlier, like a Blue Peter moment, and you're like, I'll grab that, put it in.
So this was the first, like, you can see this is in the clip launcher. So I started off in the clip launcher. Then I had like another section. This didn't make it into the track, but it was there.
Oh, the little bass line change there.
I think that's in a later bit of the tune as well, though. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. So on the drum bus, I've got a little compressor as well. So
is that like doing parallel work?
Yeah, I'm doing parallel compression. Yeah, so I really smashed that one. Let me get it back to normal, actually.
And using Pro C, I hear a lot of good things about Pro C. I've never really used it, but
yeah,
it's quite a transparent one.
Yeah, I like Pro. If I'm not trying to color the sound too much, I use Pro EQ too. But sometimes you're going for that old school kind of colored sound. Yeah, so I'll use. I don't know. A lot of the time it's just random. I'll just pick something out and be like, if it doesn't work, I'll go to the next one. You know, if it doesn't do what I want it to do, I'll just move on.
Nice.
So it's only a minor difference.
Yeah, it feels like it's just giving it a little bit more gel, a little bit more.
Yeah. But just loads of those little minor things all across the track will elevate the track.
Yeah, they all add up, don't they?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's actually like, what's this? So I had all these different elements that I was going to add in.
Wow.
But never made it. That's what happens sometimes. Something might sound good, in isolation, but then if it doesn't fit in the track, it doesn't fit in the track.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to make a decision.
Yeah, I guess you could always use them for a VIP or something later if you wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's never always lost. It's never always lost. And also the sound that you made, like a lot of the sounds I made, like I can just use that in another track.
Yeah, like do you save them all and then just have them in a little repository that you could just go in and grab them when you need to and all that?
No, but with Bitwig, you can kind of just drag. I can drag like this to. Oh, whoops. I can drag this like thing here into my other project.
Wow,
You know?
that's cool. Yeah, that's
So,
it.
So yeah, you can just move sounds around when you know if you think because the thing is you don't have to load up the all the sounds when you're loading a song. So I can load a new song, but I don't have to load up all the sounds of it. So I can just load up the song just so I can get something I know that I want from the track.
Yeah, nice. So before the track drops, there's like a vocal sample.
Yeah, big 45.
Where did you? Yeah, where did you find that then, or is that a secret?
Yeah, I can't say exactly where I found that, but I can play it to you.
Yeah, go on.
Pull up in my big fat black Cadillac.
Let's get some reverb and stuff off of it and see how it sounds on its own.
Pull up in my big fat black Cadillac. Big 45 shot out them net back.
Yeah,
Nice.
if I didn't add those little bits on it, then it would have sounded really, really brass.
Pull up in my big fat black Cadillac. Big 45 shot out them net back.
Yeah, proper good way to bring that tune in, isn't it? Straight away with that bass line.
Also,
I think
can say about. Go on.
Yeah, go on, mate. Sorry. No, go on.
No, I was going to say that also another element of the tune that's quite strong in the tune is the dissonant
Strings.
Yeah, the dissonant strings. So, you know, they kind of sound evil and almost don't sound like they belong in the tune, but it's based off of the chords. So
Yeah.
but I've just used it in a way that's the most
Oh,
dissonant
yeah, so
way
you're doing like
use
you're
it.
having.
So
It's like having two notes next to each other,
So if
but
you
you've
hear
got one
it,
an
it's
octave
like-
higher. Nice. Yeah, we just disconnected there for a sec. I'm back. Yeah, I can hear you again.
all right.
Cool.
Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah. So I think we're talking about. I guess I can cut all this out, but yeah. I was saying how, the dissonant notes you use are like if you were to use two notes next to each other, you got one an octave higher, which gives it that really like dark sound. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't make it too dissonant as well. So it's like if I had them right next to each other, it would be like, which is cool. But I just I think on the second time round that's what happened. So it's like
I do love I love doing that in my tunes a lot.
So the first time round is this, and then the second time round it's just basically that, but with next to each other.
Nice.
So it gets like it's like stronger dissonance. So it's like gets more intense at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it starts off like. And then when it switches to this. But you can see how these are. So if I show you the chords.
Yeah.
The guitar chop. So. You can see like so this is
wow.
It's based off of the chord, do you know what I mean?
So when combined with the chords, it's almost like you've got two different dissonant.
Yeah, because
like the top one is dissonant with the top chord of the note. Yeah, mad.
Yeah, because in the chord, like you got this is the chord, but then these are these two notes, but it's switched around. So instead of that way around, yeah. But that's just like transposing one of them up an octave and one of them down an octave. But in the chord it's like that. But I just have to move it around.
Yeah, it works really well.
And then the second
Amazing,
time around is get a bit of dissonance in ya.
Sounds sick. Very nice, man.
I think that's it, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, I think this tune. I remember the first time I heard it was when we played together in Boomtown. I think you opened your set with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it sounded sick, man.
Yeah, I remember a couple of people like were surrounding me. That's when I know a tune's going off. Like, oh, because you can't really see much when you're sometimes when you're on stage. You can't really see much, but then you see the man them like surrounding you. Like, oh, all right.